Am I going now? I'm not hearing. Okay, welcome to the class. This is Introduction to Permaculture, and my name is Will Hooker. I'm going to be your instructor. Preston Montague over on the side is the teaching assistant for the course, and you will be interacting with Preston almost as much as me when we're not in class. And he's very good at this. He's worked with me for a couple of years now, and he's a certified permaculture designer, so he's very good. A couple things before we go. This course essentially is going to have 3 audiences. One, you, the live folks, and you're the one that's going to give me most of the energy, and I appreciate that. A second audience is going to be the distance ed folks, and Kurt is here. He's been able to make it. He's in the distance ed section. And those folks will be taking the course mostly online. Now, I have a series of people who are in that course that are out in Texas and California. I thought I was going to have one guy in Germany. So it's going to be a fun course as well, because we'll get different ecologies that we're looking at as we go through it. The third audience is going to be the television audience in the greater Raleigh area. And so at times I'm going to reference that audience as well, so just be prepared for the whole, okay? Let me start by telling you just a bit about who I am. I've been teaching here at NC State. I think this is my 32nd year. That just sounds so old to me, you know, and yet I feel like a kid. I'm just having way too much fun, so there's no reason to stop yet. So I'm going to keep doing this for a while. I'm a registered landscape architect in North Carolina. I've been a certified permaculture designer and a certified permaculture teacher for about 14 years now, and I've been teaching this course since 1997. I feel really good about the course. It's got a lot of good energy. And we have a lot of good folks coming through. So there's a great deal to learn, and most of it is a lot of fun to do. So I'm looking forward to a wonderful semester. I'm going to pass out a phone list, and basically I want you to write your name, your email address, and your phone number on here. Cell phone, because I'll be primarily using this when we're going to be going on field trips. And if you say you're going to be there and it's 5 minutes after when we're leaving and you're not there, I'm going to call you. So I want to know how to get out, or text you. I think I can figure out how to do group text. I'm almost there. Do write legibly and don't go off the edge, please, and write hard enough so I can read it. Okay. Let me talk for just a minute about what permaculture is, and then we'll go from there. Permaculture is essentially a sustainable living methodology, and it's often constrained to gardening or something. And, you know, in many ways I love that. But what it's really about is a methodology that goes across all disciplines. And in fact, it crosses disciplines. Andrew, how you doing? Which is one of the benefits of permaculture, that it's a cross-disciplinary methodology. The specifics, and this was in your syllabus that I sent you, the specific definition, and this comes from Bill Mollison, is that basically it's a contraction of 2 words. I like to think that the contractions are permanent and culture. Often the methodology is associated with permanent agriculture. And so A lot of it just gets lumped into a gardening mode. It's far more than a gardening mode, is what I have to tell you. Obviously, what Mollison says, and I'll talk about these two people in just a moment. Mollison is one of the originators of permaculture, and he says it's the conscious design and maintenance of cultivated ecosystems that mimic natural ecosystems. So that's the way to go, and what it's going to give you is food, shelter, your materials, and even your non-material needs, hopefully coming from your own setting. And so, but there's lots of different definitions of permaculture. I show you this. My daughter, a year ago, for Father's Day, a year and a half now, painted my truck. And I said, well, yay. And it's kind of taken off the Thai truck that they really go wild on. And so she painted it, and I said, well, I need to have a permaculture slant to it. So she got online and looked up definitions of permaculture, and one of the definitions is this, revolution disguised as gardening. So here we go back to agriculture with it. But, I like the fact that it says, okay, we're going to change how we as a human species are inhabited this planet. And so that's really what we're trying to do. The two people that started it, one is David Holmgren. David was probably your age, many of you, when he wrote a treatise in his sophomore year in college. And he was in a landscape architecture program in Tasmania. And he wrote a treatise where he was saying, there's a better way for humans to live on this planet. And one of the professors saw it, and he said, oh, wait a minute, this makes too much sense. I have to have water. I have dry mouth. The professor was the guy named Bill Mollison, who was a forester and had lived in the wilds in Australia and Tasmania, and figured out where he was going with it. And so he looked at what this young upstart, David Holmgren, wrote and said, this is the way to go. So he got up with this guy, and together a few years later, they published this book, which is Permaculture 1. It's interesting. I just have to tell you this. When I took a trip, and this was in 99, 2000, I had a sabbatical study leave, and I structured it so I got an around-the-world ticket, and I circumnavigated the globe looking at permaculture because, I had been doing it for a number of years, and I said, but I want to know more. And one of the places I stopped was at David Holmgren's place, and that turned into a really nice experience. And basically, David is a good friend now, and I tell you this because when I met him, he was brilliant. And I've since figured out he's a genius. I mean, he's a true genius. And I've met 3 geniuses in my life, so that's not something I just give out, kind of willy-nilly. David came to visit in 2005, and I hosted him at my house, and he stayed about 3 or 4 days. I figured by the end of those 3 or 4 days, I had the equivalent of a PhD. I mean, the guy is just incredible in terms of his knowledge and how he puts things together. So it's no surprise to me that his thinking led to this methodology. Now, I give Mollison the credit for spreading the methodology. He gets a lot of, his name is most often associated with it. David Holmgren put it together. Mollison figured out, we're not going to take this methodology and we're not going to put it through the normal tracks. Mollison hates universities. I didn't tell anyone that I was teaching at the university for a couple of years. And then finally I asked David, I said, David, I'm teaching. These people want to know. Is this bad? He said, Will, everything evolves. Keep going. And so here I am. Mollison would disown me. He just wouldn't have anything to do with me. Okay, so basically that's permaculture. Tonight we're going to do a couple things. We're going to overview the course. I want to overview the whole course and kind of give you where we're heading with it so you're aware and how we're going to take it on. I want to also do introductions. We're going to go around the room and do introductions. I know it's a lot of people. And so when it gets to be your turn and we're going to go down the rows and just back and forth in a logical way, when it comes to you, you're going to tell us the following and speak clearly. You don't have to lean into the mics. They're good mics. You're going to tell us your name. You're going to tell us where you're from, city, town, or state. Basically, if you can, in about 2 words, describe the ecology. Is it mountainous? Is it coast? Is it rolling? Is it marsh, etc.? In just a few more words, describe your experience in terms of whether you're a gardener, whether you're an engineer, working photovoltaics, whatever it is, very quickly. And then what I want to know is what you're passionate about. And it doesn't have to be this, okay? And I'm going to start, and then I'm going to pass it over to Preston. And by the way, we've got a lot of people in here, so we're going to do this very quickly. See if you can do it in 30 seconds. If you get beyond 45 seconds, I'm going to say, mercy, brother, or mercy, sister, okay? Okay, time me, Preston. My name's Will Hooker. I grew up in upstate New York near the lake. It was very flat. It was mostly a fruit belt, so I loved looking at the grids of those fruit trees. I've been gardening now seriously for about 15 years, and I'm just a beginning gardener, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to learn some things. As I say, I've been working in kind of an ecologically founded design philosophy for 35 years or so as a, no, more than that, 45 years as a registered landscape architect. What I'm passionate about, and Arthur, can you zoom down on this? Yeah. What I'm passionate about, and what I did just this Saturday, is I went to the mountains, to Valdez, and I got certified in the safety examination for the American Pyrotechnical Association. I'm going to learn to shoot off the big ones. Okay. Preston.
I'm Preston Montague. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia, which is rolling hills. Let's see, I've been classically trained as a painter my whole life, but I got into gardening as an art about 10 years ago, and that's kind of led me here to landscape architecture, which is doing all of that, but on as big a scale as possible. And I'm really passionate about gardening. I'm still working on growing food. With Will's help, for sure, and biophilic design, which is design that is based on the kind of the patterns of life, and permaculture, certainly.
Great. That's me. Thank you.
I'm Michael Bissett. I'm from Winston-Salem. I've grown up, lived there my whole life. It's kind of a temperate forest, I guess. It's pretty much just a city in the middle of a forest. I'm in chemical engineering, and I've done a lot of like yard work and landscaping work. I've done a lot of work outside through my high school years for making money jobs and stuff. And I would say I'm pretty passionate about cycling and mountain biking and just
great
backpacking and being outside. So
okay, great. And you wrote about the honors, right?
Right.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Presley Blackley.
Oh,
and
Presley, hey.
Hi, and
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm from Charlotte, and I'm pretty much in the suburban, pretty concrete area. So, not too much nature, but my family has a lot of land, and I've grown up gardening, and my dad owns a hardware store, so I've been involved in the gardening world for a long time.
Presley is the niece of one of my former students who's running a wonderful landscape architectural firm.
My name's Kurt Bland. I grew up outside of Apex in a, I'd say, hardwood and pine successional forest, second growth type stuff, out towards Sharon Harris Lake. My experience is running a landscape contracting business, having traveled extensively and lived on both the East and West Coast. Spent time working in landscape and in gardens. I do raise a garden for my own consumption and have gotten really into rainwater harvesting. A passion of mine, probably my biggest passion, is travel and fishing, boating.
And scuba diving. I
Scuba
saw
diving.
your photo. Okay.
Anything with water.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's go to the front here.
Hey, my name's Becca
What's your last name, Becca?
Fisher.
Fisher, okay.
Yeah. I am originally from Philadelphia, and it's Philly, so it's a big city. Right now I live in a tiny A-frame in the woods in Chapel Hill, and my background is in psychology. I got my BA in psych, and recently have decided to pursue a master's of agricultural education. And I am really hoping and passionate about learning more about organic and sustainable ag, and something that I would like to carry that into wherever I land as an ag ed teacher.
Great.
So.
Good, good. I have former students doing that in fact, so great. Thanks.
My name is Katie Young. I'm an environmental technology student. I'm from Mooresville, North Carolina. I don't know if NASCAR museums counts as landscape. That's what we have there.
Landscapes, right.
And I'm passionate about entomology. That's what I'm hoping to study.
Good,
That's about it.
great, thanks. Carol.
I'm Carolyn Eford. I'm from Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, which is near Concord. It's mostly farmlands and pastures and stuff. I am in landscape design, and I hope to, after I graduate, which is what I am passionate about, hopefully going into a sustainable, design type thing, because, that's the new future, so
Yeah.
it's really interesting to me, too.
Great. I find that a lot of my students go out and they know more than most of the people trying to hire them, with the exception of folks like Kurt. So you just have to keep going. You have to keep going. Okay, Stephen.
I'm Stephen Panache. I'm from Maplewood, New Jersey. The town is very hilly and about 20 miles away from New York City. So I spend a lot of time there, and that's a whole other beast in itself. I'm a landscape design student as well, graduating in December, and I'm passionate about food and kind of bringing people together, which food tends to do.
Great, thanks.
Hi, my name is Abby Noah. I'm originally from
What's your
Grantham.
last name?
Noah, as in the Ark.
Noah.
Yeah. I'm originally from Grantham, North Carolina. I'm in general horticulture. My passion is growing things for both beauty and food, and hopefully combining those two. So
Great.
that's who I am.
That's Preston and me. Okay, next.
My name's Anna Sauls, and I'm from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, which is just coastal plain, sandy soil. I'm majoring in horticulture science, and right now I'm passionate about keeping my houseplants alive.
Yeah. Move them inside, and boy, they start to struggle. Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley Moses. I am from Gainesville, Florida, which is really, really flat. We have a prairie, really sandy soil, really hot. I just graduated from Guilford College. I majored in Spanish and Peace and Conflict Studies, and right now I'm the garden manager out at a farm called Cane Creek in Snow Camp. And I'm really passionate about growing food. I'm passionate about growing heirloom crops and about working with kids. Also about my dog, who's humongous and fluffy and 70 pounds, and all that.
Great, wonderful. Haley works on this wonderful farm. I really love the people there, and they're doing organic beef and organic vegetables, and it's really a wonderful setup. So she's learning a lot, she's teaching a lot, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Wes Randall. I'm from Boone, North Carolina, which in one word would be mountain. Lots of mountains. I'm in horticultural science, just general hort. Things I'm passionate about, I really like being outside, fishing, hunting. I like gardening, both for hobbies and just to grow my own food. Those are my passions.
There's an extension agent in Boone, Richard Boylan, who is a permaculture teacher, by the way. So when you go home sometime, check him out. He's great. I really like him a lot. Melissa, let's go from there, okay?
My name's Melissa Martin. I'm a landscape architecture student.
and I'm originally from Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's pine forest near the coast, and I'm passionate about music and dancing and holistic health.
Great. Thank you. Next.
My name is Danielle Taroni. I'm a first-year graduate student in the Landscape Architecture Department. My background is in fine arts, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, which now is just big, beautiful suburbia. And I'm passionate about herbalism and also humanure.
Oh, great. Herbalism. We will probably be going to one of the foremost herbalists in the state for our trip, so make sure you go along.
Hi, I'm John Blasco. I am a second-year graduate student in the Landscape Architecture program. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, about 30 miles south of Lake Erie. It's the last, heading west, it's the last place of hills before it gets really, really flat. My experience, like I said, is the landscape architecture. I'm just really getting into the idea of plants and gardening through the last year and a half of being here, and I'm really passionate about beer and friends. And I just started home brewing.
They go together, don't they? Yeah.
They do.
Great, John. Welcome. You can't bring that food. You can do it. Yes, next.
My name's Tipton Folks. I'm originally from Kingston Springs, Tennessee, which is the next county over west from Nashville, Tennessee, so it's about 25 miles away. And got a bachelor in preservation and planning from Charleston, South Carolina, and now I'm in the landscape architecture program here, getting a master's. And my passion is probably cooking and food.
Great. Come on our trip, Tipton.
All right.
I took my fundamentals course, hey, Allison, down at Summertown, which is an hour south of Nashville. I don't know if you know the farm.
Somerville or Summertown?
At the farm, Somerville.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And wonderful place. I don't know if you've visited. Make a point of going there because they've got a really good educational program going on there.
Sure.
Next.
I'm Christina DeFrancisco.
Say again?
Christina DeFrancisco. It's a mouthful. I guess my most recent home is Apex, North Carolina, which is pretty much suburban Piedmont. My background is I just finished 3 years studying environmental science at UNC Wilmington, and now I'm here to start environmental engineering, which pretty much explains my passion is just about anything outdoors. I love to recreate outdoors. I'm real big into rock climbing just this year, rock climbing, backpacking, any type of stuff, and I also love to garden and grow things. My roommates tease me that I have practically a forest of plants in my room.
Isn't it fun?
They're just everywhere.
Good. Great. Next.
Cool. I'm Vincent Fight. You can call me Vinny or Vincent. I'm from West Point, Virginia. It's a really small town in the Tidewater Plains area of Virginia between two rivers, the mouth of the York River, you know where that is. I'm studying English. I'm a senior this year.
Great.
And my passions are cooking and singing and soccer.
Great. All good choices. Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Parker. I'm from Mars Hill, North Carolina, which is a little north of Asheville, and it's mountainous. I am a grad student in landscape architecture with a background in horticulture, and I'm passionate about anything outdoors, being outdoors, gardening. I'm passionate about my daughter and taking her outdoors and gardening.
Wonderful. Next.
I'm Heather Bishop, and I am originally from Kernersville, which is a real small town in between Winston and Greensboro. But I like to travel a lot, and a lot of times that means I end up moving to those locations. But I'm also really passionate about like edible schoolyards and green roofs. So
Great. We're going to go to Greensboro to the edible schoolyard there too.
Wonderful.
That's
The
part
Children's Museum?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's be a fun trip. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nissa Collins, and I think you're going to Burlington too, and that's where I'm from.
We are.
And I would describe Burlington as having abbreviated sidewalks, which means they don't go anywhere, and ghost malls, which are empty. I've worked on farms for the last 3 summers, and when I grow up and graduate, I think I want to retire and grow my own food and kind of tinker around and build stuff, I guess. And my current passions are biking around and looking at stuff and vegetables.
Good range, good range. Burlington does happen to have what I consider to be one of the, and they're in competition with Kurt, one of the most sustainable companies in the state. So,
is that right?
Yeah, the T-shirt printing company, and hopefully he's going to come and be one of our lecturers. Yeah.
I'm Bob Witchker. I work for the university actually as a graphic designer, and Will was nice enough to let me in the class. I live in Raleigh right now. I just bought a house in an older neighborhood a little north of downtown, so it's sort of it's still a pretty like wooded and diverse kind of area. But
where is that? Mordecai? Or?
Across Wake Forest Road from Mordecai, so it's like,
got it.
I don't know what they call that neighborhood, but I've been doing like basic carpentry almost all my life. Been doing gardening for about 3 years and chicken keeping for about 2 years.
Great.
And I'm working on a secret plan to keep goats in my backyard. There's an urban goat
TV or anything.
I don't know. That's why I'm in the class.
Go ahead.
I'm Irene Sadler, and I'm from Carborough, North Carolina, which is a little nub that comes off of Chapel Hill, and there's woods there. And
some people claim that's the center of the universe.
I don't know. People always have something to say about Carborough. And it's my backyard is Bullen Creek, so there's lots of greenways and forests and stuff, and some of them are a little older. Some of them were previously farmland. And then there are still some farms nearby out on dairyland, and there's lots of deer all over the place. There's always little baby fawns and big herds of, it's really sort of strange. And my experience with gardening and permaculture, well, I just built some raised beds with deer fence.
Good.
And I'm all ready to go, but I don't really naturally have a green thumb. I'm trying to learn. And my passion is finding a balance between humans, long-term balance between humans and the earth.
Right. That's a good one. My wife claims that the secret, and she does have a green thumb, the secret to a green thumb is water. Just a hint. Mary?
Hey, I'm Mary Archer, and I'm from Charlotte, just a very suburban neighborhood. And I'm getting a master's in landscape design in the horticulture department. And my family actually does have a farm about an hour outside of Charlotte in Mount Pleasant, so I did get to grow up doing some farm work. And we have an old orchard with a lot of heirloom fruit trees. But I'm also passionate about traveling.
Great. I'm glad you're in the course, Mary. Next.
I'm Nick Ward. I'm from Chapel Hill, which is the big nub off of Scarborough. On the other side of Bowling Creek. I'm in the landscape design program. My passions are native plants and rock climbing.
Great. Good. A couple rock climbers, yeah.
My name is Ian McEwen, and I'm from Vienna, Virginia.
Say again?
Ian McEwen.
McEwen, okay.
Yeah, from Vienna, Virginia, which is just the suburbs. I used to be a whitewater rafting guide in the ski patrol, so I guess you could say a passion is extreme sports. My real passion is Christmas trees. I have Christmas tree farm.
Do you grow them?
My name's Nathan Matar, and I'm from Blowing Rock, North Carolina, which is about 5 minutes from Boone. I would describe it as anything but the city. And my experience is basically anything involving development, from residential to commercial. And my passions are the outdoors and any type of motorsport.
Okay. Andrew.
My name is Andrew Balcom. I'm from a small town called Lanes Creek, North Carolina, which is southeast of Charlotte. Farm area there, a lot of clay, a lot of row crops. I now live in 5 Points, and I work as a landscape designer and landscape construction. And I'm real passionate about adventure sports and restoration.
Great. Good. I'm glad you're here, Andrew. Yeah,
me too.
I'm Jacob Rutz. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I am a student in plant and soil science, and I've been into gardening for about 2 years now. Family just kind of started picking it up a little bit. And I'd say I'm most passionate about feeding people, growing food, cooking food, and eating it.
Oh, great. Community. You're about community, Jacob. Good man. Next.
My name's Brian Parham. I'm from Durham, North Carolina, which is sort of like Piedmont forest land where I'm from.
I love Durham.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm passionate about, I study ecology, so I'm passionate about conservation and outdoors. I like to link education with the outdoors, teaching kids about ecology. I also like camping and climbing and a lot of outdoor sports.
Great. Wonderful. Next.
I'm Chelsea Amato. I'm a graphic design major, and I'm originally from Queens, New York, so that's urban, but then I grew up in Cornelius. It's near Charlotte, so suburban. And my experience with gardening, I have a basil plant and a lavender plant, but I'm into Roman composting and know a decent amount about it, and I'm looking to get into gardening more. So I work for for Diener doing the graphic design campaign for their recycling. So I'm really passionate about graphic design and recycling. So any sustainable graphic design.
Sustainable graphic design. I love it. Next.
I'm Ariel Greenwood. I grew up in Vance County, which is a few counties up, and it's mostly like tired old farmland, tobacco stuff. And I'm studying poli-sci here at State. I just transferred. I'm a junior. I work on a farm out in Clayton called Thanksgiving Farm. It's just like an 80-acre farm run by these rich people who just grow food for themselves and their friends in the food shuttle. Before that, I worked on one out in Franklin County for a while. So, but at the farm now, I just work in their orchard and garden and with their animals. And I'm really interested in like farm policy and the farm bill and basically advocacy for small farms, that
Great.
sort of thing.
Are you a member of the Carolina Farm Stewardship Association?
The other farm I worked for was. So we had farm tours and that
Great.
kind of thing. Yeah.
I recommend very strongly going to their conference. Great conference, and you'll meet the movers and shakers in the state there, and they're about advocacy, so it would be right down your line. Good one. Next.
My name's Caroline Tilley, and I'm from New Bern, North Carolina. It's on the coast. And I really love gardening, and I worked out at Niche Gardens for a while. And that led me to the landscape architecture program here. And in addition to gardening, I'm really passionate about traveling.
Great.
I'm Erin Champion. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska. It's mid-tallgrass prairie. I work for the university, but my background is horticulture and landscape architecture. And my passions are growing my own food and gardening and cooking.
Great. Wonderful. Allison.
Okay, I am Allison Hoffman, and I'm another one from Charlotte. And so I think the way I would describe it, which I think you said in one of your other lectures about what a waste of space lawns are.
Yeah.
And I would say there are a lot of lawns in Charlotte. Just
Great
the
potential,
suburbia.
though, isn't it?
So, yeah, it's beautiful, but what a waste of space. And I have a lot of experience. I'm a nutrition science major, so I know a lot about nutrition, but I can't grow anything that I'm talking about. So I love to learn how to do that, just get a little start. And then I have a couple of passions that I wrote them down while everyone else was talking. I really like game shows, and I love children and prevention and empowerment, and then fruits and vegetables.
Great.
But
Wonderful.
game shows are the best, I think.
I met Allison at a lecture I gave last fall. I think she's passionate about everything.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Next.
My name's Abigail Thompson. I'm from Grassy Creek, North Carolina, which is as far north as you can go before
Wait a
you
minute.
hit Virginia.
What's the name of it again?
Grassy Creek.
Grassy Creek? I love it.
Go ahead. But I describe it as just farmland, very clay soil. I accidentally grew pumpkins one summer. It's about as far as my gardening experience goes. My passion is just teaching. I'm going in for ag ed, but I have a passion for making a difference in people's lives every day, knowing that what I did counted.
Good for you. Great. Next.
I'm Catherine Crocker. I'm from Harrisburg, North Carolina, in Cabarrus County, and it's outside of Charlotte, so I guess you could describe it as very rapidly becoming suburban. But in large respect, there's still a lot of rural areas. As far as my experiences go, I grew up gardening with my grandparents, and I worked at a plant nursery for several years. And my passions, I have a lot. I'm a country girl through and through, so pretty much anything ag and outdoor related, plants, livestock, and I'm an ag education major. So
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Welcome.
I'm Jamie Temple. I'm also from Grassy Creek, which is near Oxford.
Give
in
me your
Graham
last
County.
name again, Jamie.
Jamie Temple.
Okay.
I'm also a senior in ag education, and I don't really garden, but my family does little small gardens. And sometimes I help with that, but not really. I would say I'm passionate about teaching too and trying to make a difference.
Great. Wonderful. Next.
I'm Stephen Capobianco. I'm from Monroe, North Carolina. I'm a senior in Ag Ed. I've worked in multiple nurseries. I've done a lot of landscaping. I'm really passionate about the woods. I just love hiking through them and working in my greenhouse. Anything that really greens up the world, I like to do.
Good for you. Next.
I'm Megan Williams. I'm from Robbins, North Carolina. It's a small town in like northern Moore County. And I'm an agricultural education major too, and I have a horticulture concentration. And my family's always done like a small garden, so that's my experience. And I'm really passionate just about like being on the farm.
Great. The farmers, the population of farmers have been decreasing radically over the years. In fact, I think Chatham County, North Carolina, is one of the few counties in the whole nation where, in fact, the farmers are increasing. So I'm so happy to hear so many of you saying, I'm passionate about growing, because, you know, we need it. The average age of the farmers today is 57. What's going to happen then? Next.
Hi, I'm Kim Porter. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, so definitely the city. Let's see, I'm doing my master's in wildlife and conservation biology. My experience with gardening is pretty much limited to 2 summers of gardening in the little plot of land my landlord gave me in the city to use. And I've done a little bit of volunteer work with it. And I would say I'm passionate about being outside and about conservation.
Yeah, great. These are all part of what I say the permaculture umbrella goes over. You don't have to be a gardener to be a permaculturist, so nobody apologize. Okay, Chloe.
I'm Chloe LeBlanc. I'm a sophomore. I'm from Cary. It's pretty suburban. I'm going into environmental technology, and I'm pretty passionate about rock climbing and hiking and just being outside.
Great, great. A number of folks.
My name's Adam Spitzig. I'm from southern Florida, West Palm Beach area, so sandy and subtropical and hurricanes. I'm currently doing an MEM over in Durham, so I'm in sort of environmental management, ecology. Really interested in ecological field work and any food-related elements with self-sufficiency.
Right, great.
I'm
glad
Casey.
you could make it, Adam. Next.
I'm Casey Lee. I'm also from Winston-Salem. I used to teach art at an elementary school at Kernersville Elementary, actually, so I'm familiar with that area. But now I'm a second-year grad student in art and design. My focus is fibers and sculpture. So I'm passionate about making things, and I'm looking for ways to get my work into garden spaces.
Great, great. There's one of my students, for one of her projects, she was in the same program, undergraduate, and what she did is she built a small shed out of kudzu.
Yeah, you
because she was doing the fibers and she loved it. So there's lots of opportunities there. Behind?
I'm Megan Lyons. I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia, which is about an hour and a half south of Pittsburgh. And it's mountainous and rolling hills. I grew up on a farm, and right now I'm a student in landscape architecture. And my background's in economics, and my passion is singing.
Morgantown is the college, the university town up there, and a wonderful place. My wife is from West Virginia, and I just think the world of West Virginians because they're some of the nicest people in the world. They love to talk because there's not much to do except talk. You know, it's true, isn't it? Next.
I'm Talila Pinkham. I'm a graduate student in landscape architecture from Iowa City, Iowa, which is also a college town in the Midwest, and located in a matrix of what I will describe as completely obliterated prairie, agricultural land. I'm passionate about other things, I guess travel and anything of outrageous beauty, especially if it pertains to outdoor lighting and Argentine tango.
Oh, great. How wonderful. Outdoor lighting is a big deal, especially when you make it an art form. So, great. Next.
Hi, I'm Jackie Harris. I grew up in Maine, where I grew up is sort of between the foothills and the coast, but we don't have Piedmont there, so it's not really Piedmont. My experience, I installed landscapes for a few years after my undergrad, and which brought me to the Master of Landscape Architecture program. I'm really passionate about eating locally, holistic health, and natural play spaces for children.
Great, great. I spent a summer in Maine working in a pulp and paper manufacturing mill.
There's one in almost every town.
In every town.
There was one in almost every town.
One of the most wonderful things that happened to me was one night, I have to tell the story, it was about 4 a.m. and I was running a test before they do a blowdown because they put the pulp under pressure with these intense chemicals in there. And so I was sitting there with this engineer. The guy was probably 55 or 58 or something, and I'm sitting here as this young, brash 19-year-old, and he's got on a tank top, you know, and he's sweating and dirty, and he looks over, he said, "What the heck are you doing here? Get out while you're young." And so I said, "Okay, I think I'll go study landscape architecture." Next.
My name's Caleb Davis. I'm from a small town called Jefferson, which is in the mountains of North Carolina. It's about 30 minutes north of Boone. I'm also a landscape design student, and I'm also passionate about the outdoors, kayaking, camping, fishing, all that good stuff.
Great. Welcome to the course, Caleb. Did I miss anyone? Great. For the folks out in TV land and the folks on Distance Ed, I know this is not quite engaging to look at, you know, the introduction, but you're going to be dealing with these folks for the rest of the semester, and just like me, I think you need to know who they are. So I do take the time to go through this. Okay, what I'd like to do, and we are going to be taking a break at about 7:30. Typically what we're going to do is we're going to break the class up into 2 lectures each evening. Stick around for the second lecture, folks, okay? And what we're going to do is at the break, we're going to have food. Food is one of the best ways, as a number of you have mentioned, to build community. So we're going to have food. It's in the classroom because we can't have it in here. Down the hall in room 322. And so at the break, we're going to go down to 322 and take advantage of it. We want to move as quickly as we can because we have a lot of folks in here. So when you get there, grab and move, okay? Typically, and the way we're going to work the food, Preston and I brought the food tonight. And what I want you to do is think in terms of local, if you can, and foods are ethnic foods, things that make sense to you. We have a lot of people in here, so you're not going to be, well, you can do whatever. Some of you like to cook, so whatever you want to do. What I brought tonight is I brought a number of loaves of locally made French bread. I brought some jellies that came off the trees in my yard. I went to the farmer's market and got some more jellies and some honey. And then last year in the fall, we had a student in here, and I was saying, boy, I wish we had someone who made peanut butter local. And he does. And so he's contributed a whole bunch of it for us tonight. So, and it's just right down the road. Mackey's Ferry is the name of the peanut butter, and so we'll be enjoying that tonight. And he's got different kinds, some sweet and some unsweetened, so you'll be taking that all on, okay? Preston, what did you bring?
Homemade chocolate pie and some bread pudding from the farmer's market. From the farm.
Great.
Ladies up there.
Great. So we'll take a break. Typically what's going to happen, it takes just a few minutes to download this lecture. This lecture, for those of you in Distance Ed, this lecture will be available almost immediately following the completion of it on the web, on the website. And so we'll have to take the time to let Arthur get that squared away, and it'll be about 15 minutes. So typically we'll go for an hour and a half, come back and go for an hour, okay? Okay, let me, before we go to break, go over the course briefly and let you know what we're going to be doing and what the expectations are, etc. From your syllabus, the objectives of the course, my objectives are for you to learn basically the ethics and the principles, and learn them in a way that you can use them. Now, we're going to be going over the ethics and principles tonight in general, and then we're going to fold those in as we go over the details of the specific components of what it takes for us as humans to live on this earth. So we're going to generalize the first few lectures, and then we're going to go back and get into detail and more specifics as we go. I want you to understand the ethics and the principles, and I want you to make them part and parcel of how you approach whatever discipline you're in. Now, one of the things that is critical, and I'm hoping that if you take nothing else away from this course, this is what you take. We don't design specific things. As landscape architects, we don't design parking lots or plazas or that place where you play bocce. We design systems. And all of us should be designing systems, because systems are the things that interact and weave together, and they're the components that make the world go around. That's how the ecological system functions. So we want to always think in terms of systems. And we're going to get into how to, in the principles tonight, how to relate one system to another. And then we'll be reiterating that as we go through the course. The other thing that is really important to me, and I heard Mollison say this in one of his lectures. He said, we need to make our knowledge active. In other words, you're going to be learning things in here. I'm not going to feel I've done my job unless you feel that you can take some of that information and actually apply it in a physical way. And so part of what we do in this course, we have, and I'll talk about this in a bit, we have an assignment where you actually build something. So you're going to learn to take what you learn here and apply it. And I really want to encourage you to think in terms of applying. I'm not so much into the theory of sustainable living. I'm into the application is what I really want. And that's what I encourage you very strongly to take on. The way we're going to run the course on a weekly basis is we're going to start the period by asking what you've seen, what has jumped out at you during the week. And so what we're into here is we're into observation. What we need to do, and where we've made maybe some wrong turns as humans, is we've not paid attention to what we're doing and how it relates to the natural system. The natural system is the best teacher we have, the best teacher any of us has. And so what I want you to do is to spend your time in between paying attention to the natural system and focusing on what's happening. What do you see out there? Are the birds flying in a certain direction? Do you hear something going on? Did you notice hawks flying at a particular time? What did the rain do when it came at this particular time? How did it interact with those other parts? So anything that you see is fodder for our discussion. And obviously, every one of you is not going to be able to talk every week. But I'm going to ask you, if you've got something interesting, to share it with us. Okay? We will be setting up a website. And in fact, it's set up now, and many of you went through, you gave a description of yourself. Preston has put the first kind of question up there for you. Please go into that website. It's a Vista site. Log in, and when you see his question, then on that respond, and it's basically telling us essentially what you told us in a very brief fashion just now about who you are, where you're from, etc. I do ask you to supply a photo as well. Now, most of you have photos on the NC State website. Most of you look like convicts. Okay? Give me something you like, and I don't care what that is, what the context. But go ahead and add that if you would. Okay. We are going to have a series of guest lectures. You've looked at the schedule I sent you. And we're going to go over the various systems now, and I'll talk about this in just a minute. There are 5 basic systems that I think need to be covered. These are the physical systems that each of us need to survive. Food, water, shelter, energy, and how we manage kind of the material flow through what becomes our life. Some people call that waste. Write this down. There's no such thing as waste in nature. And so we're going to learn to manage that material flow, and that's again thinking systems and thinking how systems operate in adjacency. Okay? There's no such thing as waste in nature. One of the things that's very interesting is I teach permaculture kind of from, well, it's a pun to say the ground up. But what I try to do is I try to say, okay, what do you need to understand what your life is about relative to sustainability? That's how, what do you eat, what's going on, where do you live, etc. So I teach it from the 5 systems. This is not the way I learned it. This is not the way I see it in most of the text. But I'm engaged right now in a conversation, a national conversation. About 24 of the most experienced permaculture teachers in the country have kind of come together in this listserv, and I'm honored to be part of that. And the discussion is, how do we take this forward? How do we make the discipline of permaculture, one, more recognized in a sense, but more applicable to the problems we're confronting as a human species? It's kind of like most people know LEEDs. What's LEEDs, Katie? Learning in Energy and Environmental Development. Permaculture is LEEDs on steroids, you know. But everyone knows LEEDs, or lots of people have heard about it, but they've not heard of permaculture. And I don't really care if the name is applied. That's not my gig. I'm not selling permaculture. I'm selling the methodologies of sustainability. And that's what I think we all need to do. So I tell you this about this national conversation because I've gotten confirmation in what I do. A lot of the other teachers out there, even though that's not in the main text on permaculture, this is the way they teach it as well. So I feel real good about that. I want to show you quickly the text. Arthur, we may want to come down and in on these. There are 2 main texts, and some of you have probably purchased that already. The first one is Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemingway. Can you go back just a bit? Yeah, there you go. Get the second edition if you haven't already. This is a book primarily on gardening, and it's the best I've seen on gardening. I'm advocating the second edition, obviously, as I probably wrote in the email, because that's my garden on the front cover. And so I feel real good about it. The other text is really one of the classics, And that's the text by Bill Mollison. Now, Bill Mollison wrote an introductory text, and I will show you that in just a second. And it's one that if you're really serious about becoming a permaculture designer, practitioner, I suggest very strongly you get. It's called a design manual. It's not very user-friendly. And so people weren't getting into it. It's what is typically taught in a lot of the classic courses on permaculture. So because no one could get into that, Mollison wrote another book that's a little more user-friendly, and that's this book. And so I want you to take this one on. The reason it's good is it goes all across the spectrum. It's not just gardening, it's shelter. The one thing he doesn't do, which is added, and we're going to look into this in a very comprehensive way, is energy. So that needs to be part and parcel of it, and it's not. So get this book. Has anyone gotten this book yet? Yeah, it's got the black cover, I think, doesn't it? Yeah, it's the more recent printing, but it's essentially the same as the one you're looking at. Let me show you Mollison's design manual. This was, he did Permaculture 1, Permaculture 2, and then he did the design manual. He was writing this in the middle 80s. And when I got this book when I started teaching the course in the late 90s, and I looked at it and I said, gosh, that's an awful book. And then, no, I got it in and then I started teaching. I said, I've got to read this book. I got into it. It's a wonderful book. It's got great information. You just have to plow a little bit to get to it, okay? So if you want it, this is one of the ones to take. Another book that I really like, and who's the person near Nashville? Who is that? Yeah. This is written by the guy from the farm, Albert Bates. It's the title is The Post-Petroleum Survival Guide and Cookbook. And so it's this wonderful little book. And he breaks it down using the same kind of information I use, but kind of on the side of the books, he's got recipes for how you can put that food together that you're growing. It's just one part of what's going on. It's a good book, and I very strongly recommend it. Another book that is on that recommended list is written by a couple of friends in Durham, and that's The Carbon-Free Home. Stephen and Rebecca Wren, I have in the past gone to visit their home. It's really quite good. She's a solar engineer, installs photovoltaic and hot water systems. He's a carpenter, and he's more the writer of the two. Excellent. David Holmgren's book, I think, is worth taking a look at. What he did, and again, this is one of the originators of the concept. After 25 years of practice, he went back and he re-looked at what was going on and said, we need kind of a concrete look at the principles. And so the title of this book is Permaculture, Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability. And it's excellent. By the way, he has one of the better websites on permaculture. So just Google David Holmgren and go in and take a look at his website. He's got all kinds of wonderful material there. The other, the last thing I want to mention is the journal that is for the Western Hemisphere, the Permaculture Activist. And again, a great website, great resources. Go in and take a look at it. And it's one of those things, y'all are adept enough at browsing, at just given your age and given what's going on. And so you get in and you just wander around those websites, and you're going after the information that is important to you at the time. And you'll find this on this website. So do take a look. Thanks, Arthur. Okay. I've added a, I call it the partial reference list to the back of your syllabus. It's a pretty good take. Most of the books that I have are on that list. One of the best websites, and again, if you would take this down, relative to references, is by the author of Gaia's Garden, Toby Hemingway. So just go ahead and Google him. He's like pattern, I think it's patternliteracy.com or something like that. But just Google Toby Hemingway. Go into his website and then look at his reference list. It's just phenomenal. It's probably the best one I've seen. Okay. Relative to the grading policy, we have 3 different setups in here. The undergraduates, and when I set the course up, and I still strongly believe in this, when I set the course up, I wasn't interested in people credentialing. This course is not designed to stress you out. It's designed to be there for what you need. So you're going to take from it what you need. The more you put into it, I guarantee the more you're going to get out of it. But that's your choice. Life happens, right? So rather than have you struggling to get these grades that somehow imply whether you're a worthy human or not, I hate grades. I hate them. It's pass-fail. And as long as it's pass-fail for the whole class, you can then count it toward your degree. If it's pass-fail for 1 or 2, or you can't count it. Okay. The second category is grads. Well, I'm sorry, I have to give you grades. So you have to work harder. And I expect more from you. I expect higher standards, and you do have an extra project, okay? And we'll get into that now. It's in that welcome email, and I will go into detail when we come to the project descriptions. So you'll do that. And the third is the honors, and I think it's the 2 of you. And you will do the same stuff the grads do, okay? Okay. I want to talk about certification. There's what is known as a designer's certificate that you can get. And you can get that through me. The discussion is going on at this national level because there's not a standardized permaculture certification. What there are 2 courses that you have to take. One is a design fundamentals course, and that's what this is. Okay. And then the second one is a design practicum. And if you take a studio from me, or you take a permaculture studio from me, you then qualify for meeting the design practicum certificate. Typically what happens, and the green one you have up, could you shoot that again, Arthur? The green one that's showing is for the fundamentals course. You have to have the fundamentals course before you can go on and take the design practicum. If you get the design practicum, it's this one. And once you have that, then you work about 2 years and you then show the work that you've done relative to sustainable design or whatever you're doing in permaculture, and then you can become certified. Now, the central clearinghouse for that used to be out in New Mexico, and it's kind of fallen apart. There's a big question about where that is. That's part of what this conversation is about that I'm engaged in. And so I will keep you posted as I have more information on it, if it's relevant to what you want to do, and we can go from there. I will say this, the total for the 2 of them is typically 72 contact hours. You will probably have 75 hours plus in the fundamentals course. I'm just really demanding. I'm sorry. And then if you take a studio from me, you'll put in another 125 hours minimum. And it's all a lot of fun. I guarantee it. So I encourage you very strongly to do that. If you want to take a studio, if you've taken my, and the studio, Caleb and Preston and Stephen and Carolyn and Kurt and Katie and Andrew have taken the studio. There are a lot of background courses for it, but if you've taken this course, come talk to me, and because I'll typically allow you in if you want to take it. Now, typically, there are 5 prerequisites to my studio, so if you're coming in cold from another discipline, it's a little bit difficult to, one, catch up, and then stay on pace, but you can do it, I guarantee. So let me encourage you to try. Okay. The course activities, certainly for certification, you can go through this course, and like I say, you're going to take on what you want to take on. And if you're engaged in coming in and attending the class, you're likely going to pass. I don't know anyone who, if you've not shown up to class, I'm not going to pass you. But if you're here most of the time and you're taking part, that's great. You're going to get an S. You're not necessarily going to get the fundamentals certificate. You've got to be engaged. You've got to be working. You've got to show me that you're trying to take this on and you're trying to understand it in a meaningful way. Then I will give you the fundamentals certificate. Now, the other thing on the fundamentals certificate, if you look at our schedule, we have 4 one-day field trips, and you have to attend 3 of those. No, we have 5 field trips, 4 one day and 1 weekend. You have to attend 3 of the one day, and you have to attend the weekend in order to get the fundamentals certificate. The weekend is one of those things where we'll be leaving at noon on Friday, and we'll go up to the mountains to a place that is more magical than you can imagine, and we will work hard and play hard for the whole week in a very wonderful permaculture, for the whole weekend in a permaculture setting. And it's often the highlight of the whole course. So that's something you have to do in order to get the certificate. And that cost, what was it? Do you remember? $100, $125?
Yeah, it was like $120.
And I'll give you the times for committing to that in a timely way, so not to worry. Okay. We basically have, for most of you taking the course, just standard, the undergraduates, you have 2 projects. The first one is going to be a research project that you're going to take on, and you're going to pick a topic, and you're going to, let me get that out of the way. Let's go to black there, Arthur. You're going to take on a research project of your choosing, and you're going to look at the literature, look at the books, look at the web, figure out what it's about, and try to describe that in as concise a detail as you can. And the way you're going to describe it is you're going to submit a 20-image PowerPoint to the web. Okay? And, there will be restrictions on font sizes, etc. The thing about this, you've probably heard this saying a lot, and the saying is, if you've only given me a little more time, I could have written a shorter paper. And so what's happening here, 20 images is not long. And you're going to take a topic like, let's say, photovoltaic energy. And you're going to research it and try and tell me what's behind it, where it is, where it's going, what that's all about. And you only have 20 images to do it. And you can't write a lot in those 20 images. And furthermore, 3 of those images are going to be your references. So you have 17 images to describe some topic of interest to you. Don't try to choose that topic too early. let us go through a couple of classes so that you can look at the overview, and where your heart goes, that's where you want to follow. And then, I encourage you to get into the topic and start to read about it, start to take it on, and start to figure out references, etc. Don't wait until just before fall break, okay? Okay. Questions on that? The second project is going to be a fun project, and there are a number of ways you can handle it. The best way that it's handled is if you actually build something. So you're going to choose some, and it may come off your paper or your PowerPoint. You're going to choose some aspect of that, and I prefer if you do this in groups. I like it if you get together some people that you want to work with, and you build something in conjunction. Now, you're going to do some research, you're going to figure out what it's about, you're going to do a design, you're going to do a material search, and you're going to take that all on. Then you're going to start building it, and you're going to record the process, both the successes and the failures. And then during the last couple periods of class, these are going to be presented here and on TV. And if you're far away, and I know Haley and Adam and several other people are kind of living distance, you'll just figure out how to work that best, whatever that means. But you'll kind of get together. I know how it works in a class. You come in, you sit down the first day, and you don't move. Well, that may be who you're working with, the people around you. But don't be afraid. And when we're in having food and building community, be looking for similarities, etc. The other thing you can do with that second project, in the past, other folks have taken on a complete design of a home using permaculture principles. You can do that. You could take on some project where you wanted to go into an in-depth research aspect of some project. In other words, it's more your focus, your interest. You're kind of weaving more toward it in that second project. I again say the most successful projects I've seen in past semesters have been ones where people have actually built something and use it. Now, how many people in here own a home? Okay, see those hands? Those are the people you want to get up with because they have the place to do it. Typically, I try to encourage you all to keep your cost to a minimum. There might be a $25, $50, cost on this, and if 3 or 4 of you get together, it could be more, so you can build something a little more concrete. If you've got people who own the home and they want to put more money into it, fine. I'm not limiting what this is. I'm asking you to be aware, use kind of a consciousness about recycling materials and reusing materials, and hopefully that will make it less expensive. But we will, when we get to that point in the second half of the semester, we'll see who has places that they want folks to potentially go to. Okay, I need to take a quick count. I'm not going to do it this week. I'm going to do it next week. I need to know, because we need to reserve vans for our field trip, but everyone's gung-ho right now, so I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask you next week, okay? Reading assignments. Please take this down. And Preston, if you would, also put this up on the web. Okay, thanks. In the introduction to permaculture, in the book by Mollison and Slay, I want you to read chapter 1, and that's pages 1 through 32. In Gaia's Garden, Again, I want you to read the introductory chapter, and when I give you the pages, it'll be from the second edition. In that one, read pages 3 through 20. I also want you, in preparation for next week's ecology lecture, I also want you to read the second chapter, and those are pages, I think, 21 through 35. And then some of you, I know some of you pick up another book. I recommend this as the book you take on if you're going to do it. Holmgren's Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability. If you're going to get this book, read, and the way this book is organized, there's not chapters, there are principles. So he has 12 principles in here, and I want you to read the first principle, which is on pages 13 through 25, okay? That's not a required text. If you have that text and you want to take that on, those are the pages to read, okay? Okay. I have one last thing that I want you to take on. Well, I have 2 more assignments for you for next week. The first one is I want you to go on YouTube and find the video by Mollison called In Grave Danger of Falling Food. And it's about a 50-minute video. This is a campy little piece that you'll really have fun with. And you'll see what Mollison is about. He's kind of a curmudgeon. You know, lots of geniuses are, you know. And he just enjoys sticking it to people. But they did a really nice art thing with this. I really enjoyed it. So you'll have fun with the wraps that they have on there. I mean, it's too much. So, in grave danger of falling food. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to take 2 quizzes, and many of you have likely taken this in some other course or context. Do it again, because they keep changing these quizzes. This is, I want you to take the Earth Day Ecological Footprint quiz. Just Google it on the web. And then I also want you to look for, and I don't know which one this is. You pick one, the carbon footprint quiz on that one. Now, I tell you the Earth Day Ecological Footprint quiz and how it's evolving as it goes along. I took it again today. I keep taking it every year. And I really think I'm getting better at living sustainably. But my footprint keeps going up, and I don't get it. And maybe they're measuring better. Now, I'm pretty conscious. I live within 1.25 miles of where I work. I don't fly. I grow 20% of my own food. I try not to use the air conditioning. You know, I've got the solar hot water heating system set up. I've got all that going. If everyone lived like me, according to this test, it would take 4 1/3 Earths for all the humans to live on. Well, wait a minute. I'm really working hard at this. How are we going to make it? I don't know. But I want you to take it, and you tell me where you are. Taking this class, Haley, is going to put a crimp in yours. Okay, that's just the way it is. You know, it doesn't consider some things. It says, do you own a home? Well, chunk, there's a big boost. Well, wait a minute. You know, it's a recycled thing, so I don't know. Anyway. Okay. And then the last thing I've already mentioned, and that is you're going to go on the web and put in essentially your environmental autobiography. Okay? Questions on any of this?
Yeah.
Anything?
What was it? The Grave Danger of Falling Food and the other movies, was that still on the Facebook page, I think? I think everyone should probably join that anyways, but
might be right.
Might still have a link up, I believe.
Right. What's the name of that Facebook page?
Well, it's supposed to just be permaculture. I hope it still links directly to that page.
We'll look. We'll put one up if we can. We put up a Facebook page for permaculture last semester. Go in and look, become a friend, and it has some of the links to some of these videos on there from last semester. So that might be a good way to go. And Preston will check and send out a message on that. Okay? Okay, if there are no more questions, let's take a break. Preston, you and I need to hustle down to 322 and get stuff set up. Come down and flow through the lines as quickly as possible. Thanks, folks.
That building.
How's it going? Yeah.
I've taken one of these quizzes.